Starbucks is facing controversy after an internal memo was leaked, basically telling all of their employees they are not allowed, all their baristas, that they are not allowed to wear anything in support of Black Lives Matter. And Saagar, I mean, this matters on its face because this is like an 80% support issue. It's not controversial. Just wearing something in support of the movement. Why is that a big deal? Number one. Number two, this isn't the first time that Starbucks has had some issues around racial sensitivity and faced a major backlash, so they appear not to have learned anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that I look at this is that if they were consistent across the board, then I think it would be fine. And I think, but the issue is that, look, I mean, they're going to, I know they're going to cave on this. That I think we all know that. And yet, if they, let's say one of them were to, let's say somebody over there ever wanted to wear a Make America Great Again hat, you think they're going to allow that? I don't think it's ever going to happen. And I think that what this really does demonstrate
But that's like a direct political statement, which is
Black Lives Matter.
well, it's not. It's a political statement, but it's not a partisan statement. This is something that has mass support.
Okay, what if they had like a pro-life button on? You think they're going to allow that to happen? No way.
They should.
Yeah, and look, if that's your, I know that's your policy. I don't think that that's most of the people who are tweeting, you know, boycott Starbucks. But you are right in that we had some particularly cringe. I don't know how he can square that with the social justice virtue signaling that he gave whenever he was thinking about running for president. That's Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, in a previous answer. Let's take a listen.
And we want to do everything we can. It was a terrible moment for the company. It's not something that we're going to forget, and it's something that we learned a great deal from, and we're still learning it about. And I would just say, as somebody who grew up in a very diverse background as a young boy in the projects, I didn't see color as a young boy, and I honestly don't see color now.
That, by the way, I don't see color now, I didn't see color growing up, is incredibly cringeworthy and shows a total lack of awareness of the
that's like a parody statement from somebody be like, I do not see color.
Completely. And remember that, just to remind people of the context around this, because it's been a few years now, basically there was a major outcry, justified, when several, I think, Black men were waiting.
I think it was 2 or 3 black men.
Yeah, we're waiting for a meeting in Starbucks and had the, like all of us do all the time. And had the cops called on them while they're waiting for the meeting. So there was a major national outcry. Starbucks actually shut down and did this anti-bias training. And yet here we are a few years later, and they don't seem to have learned much from it.
There's actually zero evidence, by the way, that bias training does anything. But a lot of people make a whole lot of money off of doing it.
It's a good way to like signal that you're on the right side of things, as many of these things are, by the way. But in this case, they're not even sending out the right signal.
But you know, it's funny. So Starbucks obviously drawing a lot of heat for that. But another thing that's been catching my eye is Apple and even the NFL. So Apple pledged yesterday to put forth, I think, $100 million to addressing racial inequities. Now, we don't exactly know how Apple is going to do that, but here is the announcement from Apple CEO Tim Cook.
We're at an important moment in our history, a time when progress, which has been far too slow, feels suddenly poised to move forward in a great leap. Each of us has a role to play in making sure we rise to the occasion. Things must change, and Apple's committed to being a force for that change.
Yeah, I mean, you could see, look, this is classic big business virtue signaling. That, first of all, of course, they have a couple $100 million in cash just laying around. Then they put, you know who they're putting in charge of this?
They've been doing great during the pandemic.
Do you know who they're putting in charge of this? Lisa Jackson, who ran Obama's EPA. It's like an Obama fund. I mean, these are the Obama-era neoliberals who are all the ones who are running and these funds. And I know you seem heartless if you're like, what, you're against more funds for black? I'm like, listen, Apple is a $1 trillion company with market. I mean, think about the market power that they have. Think about the impact that they have. And then think about, why are they grafting on to this? Because, and I've thought this from the beginning, I think it's their movement. I think this whole thing is for the billionaire class and for the corporations in order to virtue signal to the American working class and to all of us that they're so virtuous with their little
capitalists
funds.
are going to capitalist. There's no doubt about that. And they see a market opportunity absolutely to graft onto this movement. We saw, Jamie Dimon kneeling in front of the bank vault. And you're like, you don't get it at all. Yeah. Use the $100 million to lobby in this town for a federal jobs program or for health care for all, How about, and it's so easy to forget, too. I mean, Apple was caught on the carpet for their abhorrent labor standards in China. I mean, horrific stuff, right?
Talk about that one.
You can't talk about that one. That's not part of the commitment to like treating people fairly and equity and all of that.
What about racial inequities in China and the Uyghurs? You think they care about that? Never, because if they said one word, I mean, LeBron James, I see the same thing. They're like, oh, LeBron's out there, has decided to get into politics, donating all this money to racial inequities. Same thing. The guy not only kept his mouth shut on what's going on in China, criticized NBA people for speaking out against human rights. These are absolute hypocrites. And look, this is a concerted campaign by many of these people, the richest, most powerful in America, to make people believe that the biggest problem in America is our racial division without ever having any conversation around class and working issues. And they never will.
I think it's to me, it's simpler. They just this is a money-making opportunity. It's completely cynical. It's a way for people to have a warm fuzzy about their brand without actually addressing any of those structural things. I mean, like you put it, Tim Cook is a very powerful individual.
Yes,
and again, I'm not trying to be a jerk here about $100 million to do good things. I think they're going to have a coding program, which is also, really caricature-ish.
Yeah.
But ultimately, with that power, you can do so much to actually change the reality for people in their lives. You can use that to maybe, for example, fight to lift corporate taxes so that we have more funding for social programs that would help people across the board. So that's a question you always have to ask yourself as you see these, philanthropic or gestures of goodwill going forward. Is this at all at odds with the person's bottom line, with their self-interest, right? And if the answer is no, then you kind of have to question the commitment to whether they really care about the values that they're espousing here. And I think in the case of Tim Cook, I think in the case of Amazon putting Black Lives Matter banner up on their website, you see they're not doing anything that will actually threaten their own bottom line in any sort of meaningful way.
No,
and
they never will. And I think that really is what most of the movement has been distilled down to. And in terms of what we see in Congress, Biden and the way that it's being grafted on and being molded by the corporate media.
But I would push back on that at the local level, though, because, we see huge changes in Minneapolis. We see changes in LA. We see changes starting to come in New York City. So it's not just, and we see massive public opinion shift where some of the reforms, there's new polling on this, that would not have been popular just like a month ago are now overwhelmingly popular. So I think it depends on where you look. You are seeing some real change coming at the local and at the state level. And of course, anyone who, the capitalists are going to try to make money off of whatever it is, and that is certainly what they're doing here.
We'll see. Next week on Rising, friend of the show, Zed Jelani. He's going to tell us what political news is on his radar. And New York congressional candidate Jamal Bowman, he's going to join us to discuss his primary race against Congressman Eliot Engel. That one has caught a lot of attention. Some are saying Jamal Bowman may be the next AOC. We're going to have a ton of great content this weekend as well. And the best way to make sure you don't miss a single thing is by subscribing. Also, please like and share so others can find the show as well. We appreciate you all so much. Have a fantastic weekend. See you guys.